Have you ever loved someone so deeply, yet felt more pain than joy? So many of us believe heart touch is proof of devotion, but what if I told you that love shouldn't hurt this much? Today, we're going to expose the lies we've been told about love, uncover the truths that protect our hearts, and learn how choosing ourselves first can transform every relationship we ever have. If your heart has been bruised or your love has been tested, this talk is for you, because what you've been enduring is not love, it's a warning. Most people confuse love with pain. They grow up believing that tears, anxiety, and endless sacrifices are proof that their love is real. Society romanticizes suffering, packaging it as devotion, and people buy it without questioning why. Love shouldn't feel like a punishment or a test you can never pass. Feeling consistently drained, anxious, or sad around someone is not an indication of commitment. It's a flashing red signal. When love is healthy, it nourishes your spirit and amplifies your energy. It challenges you in constructive ways, not destructive ways that leave you questioning your worth. Recognizing the difference is the first step toward reclaiming your emotional freedom. If your relationship feels like a battlefield more often than a sanctuary, that's information, not shame. Pain in love is not a badge, it's a warning. You have to pay attention to your own feelings because they are data, not drama. Emotions tell a story about your environment, the people around you, and the energy you're absorbing. If you feel constant tension, insecurity, or sadness, don't brush it off as normal relationship stuff. This isn't about being oversensitive or dramatic. It's about being honest with yourself. People often rationalize the pain because they fear being alone, or they tell themselves that love requires suffering. But real love should feel like a source of strength, not weakness. The people who truly care about you lift you, support you, and inspire growth. When you feel pain repeatedly, it is not a coincidence. It is a reflection of imbalance and unmet needs. Trusting your instincts is not selfish. It is survival. Awareness gives you clarity, and clarity gives you the power to make better decisions. Many people stay in unhealthy relationships because they confuse attachment with love. Attachment can be rooted in fear, habit, or a desire for validation rather than genuine care. You might convince yourself that someone who constantly hurts you loves you in their own way, but consistent harm is not love in any language. Emotional abuse, neglect, and disrespect are all signs that the relationship is harmful. Love does not require you to sacrifice your peace, identity, or dignity on a daily basis. It's crucial to differentiate between a connection that enriches your life and a bond that depletes it. Your heart deserves to feel safe, supported, and valued. Clinging to pain out of loyalty is a decision, not a necessity. Understanding this distinction empowers you to step out of patterns that keep you stuck. Pain is the signal, attachment is the trap. Your emotional well-being is not negotiable. It is not a luxury or a secondary concern. It is the foundation for every meaningful connection in your life. Love should not cost you your sense of self or your peace of mind. When it does, it's time to ask hard questions about whether the relationship aligns with your values and needs. People often sacrifice their mental and emotional health to avoid confrontation, guilt, or societal judgment. But enduring pain for the sake of staying in love is a form of self-betrayal. The truth is, a relationship that consistently hurts cannot sustain happiness, trust, or growth. Protecting your well-being is an act of courage, not weakness. Recognizing that love shouldn't hurt this much is the first step toward demanding a healthier dynamic. Every moment of pain is a cue to pause, evaluate, and reflect. Reflecting on patterns of pain allows you to uncover the truth about your relationship. Look at the cycles, the triggers, and the recurring arguments. Ask yourself what behaviors consistently leave you feeling drained or anxious. Often, the same dynamics repeat until you confront them directly. Self-reflection is not about blaming yourself. It's about understanding the environment you are in and the impact it has on your life. Identifying patterns empowers you to make informed choices about your future. It is in these patterns that clarity emerges, clarity that illuminates the difference between love and toxicity. The more honest you are with yourself, the less likely you are to accept harm disguised as love. Recognizing these patterns is not easy, but it is necessary. The pain is a teacher if you are willing to listen. Awareness creates choice. When you see clearly that a relationship is causing consistent suffering, you have the power to act. You can choose to address the issues, seek change, or step away entirely. Remaining in denial is a form of avoidance that prolongs the hurt and deepens the confusion. Choices come from clarity, and clarity comes from self-reflection and honesty. Choosing yourself does not mean giving up on love. It means refusing to accept a version of love that diminishes you. Every action you take from awareness is an investment in your emotional health. Recognizing that pain is not normal allows you to make decisions with courage rather than desperation. Love should not be a negotiation of your peace. It should be a shared celebration of it. Choice is freedom, and freedom is the antidote to unnecessary suffering. The first step toward change is acknowledging the reality of your situation without excuses or justifications. Denial keeps people trapped, convincing them that emotional pain is romantic, inevitable, or deserved. Acceptance, on the other hand, gives you clarity and power. When you accept that a relationship is consistently harmful, you open the door to transformation. Change can mean having honest conversations, setting boundaries, seeking support, or stepping away altogether. It requires courage, honesty, and self-respect. The path is not about punishing your partner or yourself. It is about reclaiming your emotional sovereignty. Understanding that love shouldn't hurt this much reshapes your expectations and standards. Awareness is the spark that lights the way out of the cycle of pain. Without awareness, suffering becomes a pattern repeated endlessly. Pain is also a mirror reflecting unmet needs, both yours and your partner's. It shows you where communication, respect, or empathy is lacking. Sometimes, love hurts because one or both people are not ready to meet the other's needs consistently. Recognizing this allows for conscious decisions rather than passive endurance. You can choose to engage with a partner willing to grow or to release the connection to protect yourself. Emotional intelligence is built in moments of discomfort. When you examine why something hurts and what it signifies, your feelings are not burdens. They are data points guiding you toward healthier connections. Listening to them is a revolutionary act of self-respect. Love that hurts constantly is not love failing. It's a signal that boundaries, clarity, or alignment are missing. Awareness transforms pain from a trap into a teacher. Finally, understanding that love shouldn't hurt this much empowers you to redefine what healthy love looks like. It gives you permission to demand respect, kindness, and mutual care. It shifts your perspective from surviving pain to seeking fulfillment. Every interaction, every moment of discomfort becomes a lens through which you evaluate the relationship. Patterns of neglect, criticism, or manipulation are no longer tolerated under the guise of devotion. Recognizing your worth and refusing consistent pain is a radical act of self-love. When you acknowledge the disparity between pain and real love, you set new standards for yourself and your relationships. The journey requires patience, courage, and relentless honesty. Awareness is the foundation. Everything else builds from it. Love without boundaries is like a boat without a rudder. You drift, and eventually you crash. Many people confuse setting limits with being selfish or controlling, but boundaries are the framework that protects your well-being. Without them, relationships become unpredictable, exhausting, and often harmful. When you fail to define what is acceptable, you leave room for disrespect, manipulation, and repeated emotional pain. Boundaries are not walls, they are guardrails that allow love to flow safely and intentionally. They teach others how to treat you while reinforcing your self-worth. People who truly care about you will respect your limits without argument or resentment. Ignoring your boundaries signals that your feelings are negotiable, which invites patterns of harm. Establishing them is a declaration that your peace and dignity matter. Learning to enforce boundaries is one of the strongest acts of self-respect you can practice. Saying no does not make you a bad partner or a difficult person. It makes you a human with needs. Many endure emotional discomfort to avoid conflict, guilt, or perceived rejection. They think sacrifice proves love, but ignoring your limits only cultivates resentment, fatigue, and bitterness. Every time you compromise your standards for temporary comfort, you chip away at your self-respect. Saying no communicates that your time, energy, and emotions are valuable, and you are not willing to be taken for granted. Healthy relationships thrive on clarity, honesty, and mutual respect, not unspoken expectations. Boundaries are not about controlling others. They are about controlling how you allow others to influence you. People who genuinely care about you will honor the now without needing to justify, negotiate, or manipulate. Your boundaries are the blueprint for sustainable love. Respecting them is the baseline for a relationship that elevates rather than depletes you. Pain often comes from ignoring red flags or tolerating behaviors that violate your limits. Too often, people rationalize disrespect because they want the relationship to work or fear being alone. They endure repeated patterns of criticism, neglect, or emotional manipulation under the guise of love. The result is predictable hurt, frustration, and a constant sense of walking on eggshells. Boundaries prevent this erosion of self-worth by clearly signaling what is and isn't acceptable. When you consistently enforce your limits, you create a safe space for yourself and the relationship to thrive. Your energy, time, and emotional health are protected, and you stop enabling harmful patterns. Pain is often the indicator that boundaries were either absent or violated. Ignoring it is costly, addressing it is transformative. Each boundary you uphold reinforces the idea that love should feel safe, not suffocating. The more clearly you define what is acceptable, the less you tolerate what hurts. Boundaries are like a personal map. They outline where you are willing to compromise and where you refuse to go. Without them, confusion reigns, leading to repeated frustration and resentment. People respect limits more when they are explicit rather than assumed. Setting them requires courage, honesty, and self-awareness. It forces you to confront discomfort, anticipate pushback, and assert your needs clearly. Those who truly value you will align their behavior accordingly. Those who don't will reveal themselves. Boundaries prevent you from being exploited, emotionally drained, or manipulated. They empower you to make conscious choices about who remains in your life. The clarity you create allows love to exist without chaos or compromise to your core values. Boundaries are also a test of authenticity for both you and your partner. People often claim to love you while pushing against your limits, revealing their true priorities. Enforcing boundaries exposes whether someone is willing to meet you where you are or if they want to mold you to their needs. It's a mirror reflecting mutual respect, empathy, and commitment. Relationships without boundaries often collapse under the weight of unmet expectations, repeated conflicts, and passive resentment. Maintaining them teaches accountability, self-worth, and the importance of mutual care. You cannot outsource your emotional protection to someone else. You are responsible for your peace. Every time you allow someone to ignore your limits, you teach them what is tolerable. Boundaries are a form of discipline for relationships. They separate love from convenience or manipulation. Upholding them strengthens your confidence, clarity, and emotional resilience. Your peace is the price you pay when boundaries are unclear or non-existent. Constant stress, worry, or overthinking about how someone might react or behave is a sign that limits are being ignored. It is exhausting to live in a dynamic where your needs are secondary to others' whims. Emotional depletion happens slowly but steadily until it reaches a tipping point. Boundaries act as shields, reducing unnecessary friction and emotional wear. They allow you to engage in relationships consciously rather than reactively. Protecting your energy is not selfish. It is survival. Each boundary you establish becomes a lesson in self-respect for both you and your partner. Love that requires self-erasure is not love. Boundaries prevent that trap. They turn chaos into clarity and pain into guidance. Boundaries also encourage growth and accountability in relationships. When you define what behavior is unacceptable, you invite others to adjust and grow alongside you. People who respect your limits are more likely to communicate honestly, act responsibly, and invest emotionally in the connection. Boundaries remove ambiguity and provide structure, making relationships more stable and fulfilling. They do not eliminate challenges, but they make problems manageable rather than destructive. The process of setting and maintaining limits cultivates confidence, assertiveness, and self-awareness. Without boundaries, love can become a breeding ground for resentment, passive aggression, and unmet expectations. Healthy boundaries ensure that both partners are operating from mutual respect rather than fear, guilt, or obligation. They are a roadmap for sustainable intimacy and connection. Setting boundaries requires consistent practice and courage, especially when facing resistance or misunderstanding. People might react negatively, attempt to manipulate, or dismiss your limits, testing whether you will enforce them. This is where self-respect and clarity become crucial. Boundaries are only effective if upheld consistently. Inconsistency undermines your credibility and your well-being. Every yes given under pressure erodes your confidence, while every no enforced strengthens it. The act of saying no reinforces the principle that you matter and your needs are non-negotiable. It teaches others how to engage with you honestly and respectfully. Boundaries create safe spaces, eliminate toxic patterns, and invite authentic love. They are a declaration that your peace, identity, and emotional health are priorities. Upholding them is not optional, it is essential. Finally, boundaries are not just defensive, they are generative. They do not simply protect you from harm, they allow love to flourish by creating clarity, safety, and mutual respect. People who understand and honor boundaries communicate better, resolve conflicts more effectively, and invest emotionally with intention. When your limits are clear, you attract relationships that uplift and challenge you positively. Boundaries are the invisible architecture of healthy love. They shape interactions, reinforce respect, and protect emotional capital. They are an act of courage, discipline, and self-love all at once. Establishing them requires honesty with yourself and your partner, clarity in communication, and unwavering commitment to your well-being. Each boundary reinforces the principle that love should feel safe, nourishing, and empowering. Without them, love risks becoming chaos disguised as devotion. Infatuation often masquerades as love, but the two are fundamentally different. Infatuation is intense, all-consuming, and exhilarating, but it is rarely sustainable. It thrives on emotional highs, obsession, and the thrill of novelty. Love, on the other hand, is stable, supportive, and rooted in consistent care. Many people mistake the rush of infatuation for true devotion and stay in patterns that ultimately cause pain. Infatuation can feel addictive, and it often blinds people to red flags, incompatibilities, and manipulative behaviors. Real love provides safety without suffocating, security without control, and passion without chaos. Confusing the two keeps people trapped in cycles of disappointment and heartbreak. Recognizing the difference is essential to protect your emotional well-being. Understanding this distinction empowers you to demand the kind of love that elevates rather than depletes. Infatuation thrives on uncertainty and drama. It feeds off tension, jealousy, and inconsistency, making every interaction feel urgent and emotional. The highs are intoxicating and the lows are unbearable, creating a cycle that is hard to escape. People often rationalize pain in these relationships as proof of intensity, believing that love requires suffering. Real love, by contrast, does not thrive on emotional manipulation or fear of loss. It grows from respect, trust, and mutual care. Infatuation is exciting but fragile, while love is resilient and adaptable. The difference lies in the energy it generates. One drains you, and the other nourishes you. Recognizing the signs of infatuation protects you from investing in something unsustainable. Emotional clarity helps you distinguish between temporary obsession and lasting connection. Pain in relationships often comes from chasing illusions rather than reality. When people are infatuated, they ignore red flags, dismiss unhealthy behavior, and rationalize mistreatment. They hold on because the feeling is intoxicating, not because the relationship is healthy. Real love allows for honest reflection and constructive feedback without fear or emotional collapse. Infatuation blinds people to patterns of disrespect, neglect, or manipulation. While love shines light on growth and alignment, emotional attachment to infatuation can make people tolerate more than they should, sacrificing self-respect and peace. Recognizing the difference requires honesty and introspection, which can be uncomfortable but necessary. Observing patterns rather than feelings helps prevent repeated heartbreak. Emotional pain is often the signal that infatuation is being mistaken for love. Awareness is the first step toward healthier connections. True love encourages growth without coercion. It inspires both partners to become better versions of themselves while accepting flaws and boundaries. Infatuation, in contrast, often seeks to control, change, or dominate the other person to fit an idealized image. People in infatuation-driven relationships may feel compelled to compromise values, ignore needs, or tolerate disrespect. Love fosters mutual support, trust, and patience, allowing challenges to be addressed constructively. Infatuation thrives on fantasy and projection, while love embraces reality with compassion and acceptance. Understanding this difference is crucial because it determines whether a relationship builds you up or tears you down. Love provides emotional nourishment, while infatuation can leave you depleted and anxious. Recognizing these dynamics protects your energy, self-worth, and long-term happiness. Every painful encounter with infatuation teaches lessons about your values and boundaries. Your heart is not a charity, and you cannot fix someone unwilling to grow. Infatuation often latches onto people with unresolved issues, believing that love can transform them. This mindset leads to repeated disappointment, emotional exhaustion, and the normalization of pain. Real love does not exist to fix or rescue. It exists to nurture and support growth willingly undertaken. Infatuation thrives on codependency, drama, and emotional turbulence, whereas love thrives on autonomy, clarity, and mutual effort. Learning to recognize this distinction is empowering because it allows you to choose relationships that enhance rather than diminish your life. Your energy is finite, and how you invest it determines the quality of your experiences. Protecting your heart means distinguishing between fleeting desire and lasting commitment. Love without infatuation can be quiet, steady, and deeply fulfilling. Infatuation without love may feel intense, but is often unsustainable and harmful. Healthy love feels like home, not a war zone. It provides security, comfort, and emotional alignment without constant fear, anxiety, or manipulation. Infatuation feels like a roller coaster where the highs are euphoric and the lows are unbearable. Many people accept emotional instability as a measure of passion, believing that love must hurt or challenge endlessly. The truth is that love does not require perpetual suffering to validate itself. Emotional consistency, mutual respect, and shared growth are hallmarks of real love. Infatuation feeds obsession and dependency, whereas love fosters trust, autonomy, and partnership. Recognizing when a relationship feels destabilizing rather than stabilizing helps you protect your emotional well-being. Patterns of chaos are often the best indicator that infatuation is being mistaken for love. Understanding the difference is critical for building relationships that are sustaining and empowering. Infatuation fades over time, often leaving unresolved conflicts and emotional wounds behind. Many people mistake this natural fading for betrayal or loss, blaming themselves for the inevitable decline. Real love endures and deepens through challenges, growth, and shared experiences. It adapts, matures, and becomes a source of comfort and strength. Infatuation is temporary, fragile, and dependent on idealization, while love is resilient, patient, and rooted in reality. Recognizing this distinction ensures that you invest your emotional energy in connections that last. Emotional intelligence comes from observing patterns, understanding motives, and distinguishing feelings from facts. Learning to let go of infatuation-driven attachments is an act of self-respect and emotional clarity. Love grows when it is rooted in authenticity rather than fantasy or obsession. Awareness allows you to step into relationships that nourish rather than harm. The difference between infatuation and love is also reflected in communication. Infatuation often relies on intensity, secrecy, and emotional manipulation to maintain connection. Conversations may revolve around desires, fantasies, or drama rather than real growth or understanding. Love thrives on honesty, transparency, and mutual accountability. It encourages dialogue about feelings, needs, and boundaries without fear of retaliation or emotional punishment. Infatuation creates dependency and control, while love fosters collaboration and mutual empowerment. Recognizing these patterns is critical for emotional self-protection. Healthy love communicates clearly, respects limits, and encourages growth in both partners. Infatuation manipulates emotions to create dependency, while love nurtures emotional autonomy. Observing how communication functions in a relationship reveals whether it is rooted in obsession or genuine care. Infatuation often leads to ignoring self-respect in favor of connection. People compromise values, tolerate disrespect, and sacrifice emotional health in the name of passion. Real love encourages boundaries, self-awareness, and mutual respect. It nurtures the best version of you without demanding that you erase yourself to maintain the relationship. Infatuation blinds you to these principles, making temporary excitement appear more important than long-term stability. Understanding the distinction allows you to protect yourself from repetitive patterns of pain. Your emotional energy is precious, and how you allocate it determines your life quality. Infatuation can be thrilling but exhausting, while love is steady, secure, and empowering. Recognizing this difference protects you from unnecessary heartache. Awareness of these dynamics empowers you to pursue connections that truly uplift your life. Ultimately, love should uplift, stabilize, and empower you, while infatuation may feel intense but often destabilizes. Infatuation can teach lessons about desire, boundaries, and emotional attachment, but it is not a foundation for lasting partnership. Real love combines passion with stability, desire with respect, and intensity with care. It does not require constant suffering, anxiety, or obsession to validate itself. Understanding the difference protects your self-worth, emotional health, and long-term happiness. Infatuation may tempt you with drama, excitement, and illusion, but love rewards patience, clarity, and alignment. Emotional clarity allows you to see the difference and make conscious choices about where you invest your heart. Recognizing infatuation prevents repeated heartbreak and sets the stage for relationships that are sustaining, empowering, and real. Every encounter with infatuation is a lesson that guides you toward authentic love. The ultimate act of self-love is choosing yourself over a love that consistently harms you. Many people mistake suffering for devotion, believing that staying in pain proves loyalty. They endure emotional neglect, manipulation, or disrespect because they fear being alone. But staying in a harmful dynamic is not courage, it is avoidance. Choosing yourself first is about recognizing that your emotional health and peace are non-negotiable. You cannot give what you don't have, and you cannot sustain a healthy relationship while sacrificing your well-being. Courage is not enduring misery silently. It is standing up and prioritizing your own needs. Every time you honor yourself, you redefine what is acceptable in love. Love should lift you, not break you, and you deserve relationships that do. Walking away from a toxic relationship is not failure, it is strength. People often equate leaving with defeat, but staying in pain is the real loss. Choosing yourself first requires clarity, self-respect, and the willingness to confront discomfort. It is about breaking cycles of dependency and refusing to normalize emotional harm. When you leave a relationship that consistently hurts, you reclaim your identity, dignity, and energy. The act of choosing yourself sends a powerful message to both yourself and others that your happiness matters. It demonstrates that love should not be a trade-off for self-respect. Every decision to prioritize yourself strengthens your confidence and emotional resilience. You are not abandoning love. You are demanding the kind of love that empowers and elevates. Choosing yourself is the foundation of every fulfilling connection you will ever have. Self-love sets the standard for how others treat you. If you tolerate neglect, manipulation, or disrespect, you teach people that these behaviors are acceptable. Boundaries and self-respect are lessons in communication that define the quality of relationships you attract. When you honor yourself, others are forced to recalibrate their behavior or step aside. Choosing yourself is not selfish, it is strategic. It ensures that the people in your life align with your values, intentions, and standards. Emotional pain often persists because individuals remain in relationships that demand compromise on their core needs. By putting yourself first, you create a filter that protects your energy and prioritizes authentic connection. Love should feel safe, empowering, and nourishing, and that begins with your willingness to choose yourself. Every act of self-love reinforces the principle that your peace is non-negotiable. Every painful relationship is an opportunity to learn what you will no longer tolerate. Emotional hurt is a teacher, and reflection reveals the patterns, behaviors, and dynamics that harm you. Choosing yourself means internalizing these lessons and refusing to repeat them. Growth comes from recognizing red flags, acknowledging your worth, and implementing boundaries. The pain you experienced is not wasted, it is data that informs future choices. By honoring yourself, You redefine the parameters of love and partnership. You develop the courage to demand respect, kindness, and reciprocity in every interaction. Each step toward self-prioritization strengthens your emotional intelligence and resilience. The ability to choose yourself transforms your understanding of love from survival to empowerment. Learning from past experiences ensures you build relationships that enhance rather than deplete your life. Healing begins when you honor your feelings and refuse to compromise your peace. Emotional wounds do not disappear simply because time passes. They require conscious action. Choosing yourself involves acknowledging pain, expressing boundaries, and taking steps to protect your mental and emotional health. It requires courage to confront patterns that have caused suffering and to redefine your expectations for love. True healing involves reclaiming your autonomy, self-respect, and confidence. Every boundary you enforce and every decision to prioritize yourself strengthens your capacity for healthier relationships. Love should never demand self-erasure or emotional compromise. By putting yourself first, you break cycles of dependency and cultivate resilience. Healing and self-love are intertwined, forming the foundation for meaningful and empowering connections. Your peace is the compass guiding every choice you make in love. Choosing yourself is also about letting go of guilt, fear, and societal pressure. Many remain in harmful relationships because of external expectations, perceived obligations, or fear of judgment. True empowerment comes from evaluating what serves your well-being rather than what others expect. When you release guilt, you reclaim freedom to prioritize your needs and emotional health. Fear may whisper that you are abandoning love or that loneliness awaits, but choosing yourself is a demonstration of courage and clarity. You honor your values, protect your heart, and insist on the respect you deserve. Societal pressure cannot dictate your boundaries or your happiness. By acting with intention and self-respect, you cultivate inner strength that empowers all areas of life. Letting go of external expectations is essential to embracing authentic self-love. Freedom begins when you put yourself first unapologetically. Choosing yourself first does not preclude love, it attracts higher quality connections. When you prioritize your well-being, you signal to others that you will not accept anything less than respect and mutual care. This magnetizes relationships that are healthy, empowering, and aligned with your values. People who are willing to meet you on equal footing will show up with integrity and authenticity. Love that is reciprocal, nurturing, and consistent flourishes when self-respect is prioritized. By choosing yourself, you eliminate patterns of toxicity, codependency, and emotional compromise. Relationships shift from survival dynamics to partnerships based on trust, respect, and mutual growth. The energy you invest is protected, and the love you receive is sustainable. Choosing yourself first ensures that every future connection is built on a foundation of emotional health and dignity. Authentic love cannot thrive without the presence of self-love. Boundaries are essential when choosing yourself. They define what behaviors you will accept, how you allow others to treat you, and what you will not tolerate. Boundaries are a declaration of self-respect and a guide for others in the relationship. Choosing yourself means enforcing these limits consistently, even in the face of resistance or discomfort. People may challenge your decisions, but boundaries clarify expectations and protect your emotional space. They prevent manipulation, exploitation, and repeated harm. Every boundary you uphold strengthens your identity and reinforces your right to peace. Love becomes a conscious choice rather than a default compromise. By prioritizing yourself, you cultivate clarity, self-confidence, and empowerment. Boundaries are the framework that ensures your well-being is never negotiable. The courage to choose yourself transforms your perception of love. No longer will you equate suffering with devotion or tolerate relationships that diminish your worth. Choosing yourself requires accountability, honesty, and unwavering self-respect. It allows you to engage with love from a position of strength rather than desperation. Emotional pain becomes informative rather than defining, guiding you toward healthier connections. You develop clarity around your needs, values, and limits, creating the conditions for authentic, sustaining love. Every decision to honor yourself is a step toward liberation from toxic patterns. Choosing yourself is an act of empowerment that radiates confidence and clarity. By prioritizing your peace, you lay the foundation for love that uplifts rather than hurts. This is how self-love transforms into sustainable, empowering relationships. Ultimately, choosing yourself first is the most radical act of self-love and empowerment you can practice. It is not about abandoning love. It is about insisting on love that honors your worth, nurtures your growth, and protects your peace. By prioritizing yourself, you redefine the parameters of healthy relationships and set a standard that attracts integrity, care, and respect. Every painful experience, boundary enforced, and decision to honor your well-being builds resilience, confidence, and emotional clarity. Choosing yourself transforms suffering into learning, avoidance into courage, and compromise into empowerment. Love should never demand self-erasure, and by choosing yourself, you ensure it never does. Your peace, dignity, and emotional health become the guiding principles of every relationship. The courage to put yourself first is the ultimate act of strength, shaping a life filled with love that uplifts and empowers. 31.